Welcome. I'm Perry Williams, and along with Coach Jason Simmons. And Coach, it's kind of a bittersweet last show here because it's getting to the grind now. It's football season is high school football season's officially over for us and everyone since the state tournament was this past week. But now we get to do the real work and the grind and developing a football team for next season.
Yeah, no question. I told a handful of people over the weekend it probably is the most bittersweet sweet weekend of the year because you have the state finals. You know, for me, there's a lot of fellowship with other coaches around the state of Indiana. But at the same time, you know, we're closing up the 2016 season, and now you're 8 months away from contest firing back up. And so, really, it's, you know, on the flip side of that, as you have the excitement of the state finals, the kind of the downswing of the season actually being over, you do get back to the upswing of getting back at it with your players. And, you know, we're certainly excited to get our program back rolling this week. We feel like we've closed up 2016 between the end of the season and our loss to Fishers and last week. And we're certainly ready to get back after it this week for sure.
Well, Coach, in the state tournament down there was a lot of great stories. I mean, Concord won their first ever state championship in football. Westfield been there before but never won a state championship. They did that. And, you know, in 6A, Carmel, I mean, you know, they went in the tournament 5-4 and win the state championship.
Yeah, and you know, it reminded me a little bit when you look at the 6 state champions, you had 3 first-time winners in Linton, Stockton, and 1A. You had Fort Wayne, Concordia in 3A. You had Westfield in 5A. And so all of those guys on Saturday were first-time state championship winners. And Linton Stockton won a state title for the first time in the history of their school. So for 106 years, you know, they had all been chasing that big trophy. So that was certainly pretty cool to see. And then on Friday, 2A, 4A, and 6A, you had repeat winners. You know, Carmel won theirs, obviously. 4A, you know, Roncalli hadn't been there in over a decade, and they won the 4A game. And then with Cardinal Ritter being there just a couple years ago and winning one, they came back to capture another one. So it was kind of a tale of 2 days, you know, with the winners of the 6 state championship games.
Absolutely. And, you know, attendance outstanding, right around 47,000.
Yeah, state finals record.
Yeah.
And that you know, I think that speaks to it speaks to a lot. You know, when you think about the popularity and the growth of football in the state of Indiana, despite all the negative publicity that football gets outside of the inner circles of people playing it and coaching it in the media, I really feel like what we're doing in the state of Indiana is some really good things, from the Coaches Association to the relationship we have with the IHSAA, to the relationships we have with the colleges and universities, and then obviously that, you know, the relationship we have with the Colts. It is a great product for us to be able to put 47,000 people over 2 days in Lucas Oil Stadium to watch state finals and still have those games broadcasted on Fox Sports Indiana. It speaks to, I think it speaks to a lot of what's going on around our state.
I'll have to say, I had to broadcast some basketball games this weekend, so I didn't get to watch all the games, but I did get to see like the last quarter of the 6A and 5A tournament. And Dick Delahan does a great job of breaking down a game for the average football fan. I mean, you know, and he has so much history with the state of Indiana, been a coach for many, many years, so he can really break down a ball game.
Yeah, he certainly has broken down a lot of games over his years, not only as a broadcaster but also as a coach. With all the state championships he has, with the various levels that he's coached football at, he does an outstanding job making sure that people understand what they're truly watching. You know, you mentioned Carmel and Westfield, and you know the exciting thing for me is when I pursued this opportunity and was granted this opportunity to be the head football coach in Noblesville. You know, I had a lot of people ask me, "Is that truly what you want to do?" And you know, heck yeah, it is. You know, when you sign up for something, you want it to be against the best. And so, you know, personally, I want to make sure that Carmel and Westfield get their due, because it speaks to the level of football that we have in Hamilton County and the level of football that we get to compete against. And you know, that truly is a blessing for us. And you know, I certainly want to congratulate Jake and John. Those are two first-class people who I have great relationships with, who have done great things with their football programs over the last 5 and 6 weeks to get them to this point.
Yeah, and you know, the one great thing about you know, this two teams in Hamilton County, that's outstanding, and that's only happened, what'd you say, 3 times?
This is the third time. Yeah, we looked it up right before we started talking. Happened in 1980 with Carmel and Sheridan, 1987 with Carmel and Sheridan, and then 2016 with Carmel and Westfield. So hopefully it doesn't happen next year, because that means Carmel's winning it again and not us.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And you know, the one great thing about it is, like you said, with, you know, I know we always have to listen all the time how great the Mid Conference is, and it's a great conference.
It is.
I don't
It is.
downgrade that at all, but the Hoosier Crossroad Conference, top to bottom, is tough. And then when you think on the Noblesville schedule, you throw in Carmel. I mean, we have to come to play every week.
Well, if we're going to get to where we want to get to in this program, we have to play those people week in and week out. You know, and I think that was something that stood out to me with, you know, when you read all the articles that are out there about the success that Carmel had, and about the success that Westfield had in the tournament. Coach Gilbert mentioned their regular season schedule, and really, you know, their players mentioned it too in their interviews, in terms of knowing what to expect in tight ball games, being in tight ball games all year, and not panicking. And what you saw Saturday night from Westfield was a team that just stayed the course. They didn't have a bunch of offensive success in the first half finishing drives, but they found ways to get points with the field goals. And in the second half, they put together one touchdown drive, and that was all their defense needed to hold the lead.
Yeah, and the one thing, it was great, the interview at halftime there, they interviewed Jake, and Jake said, you know, Gilbert says, you know, we've been here before, okay, and we're always a second half team, and we'll make adjustments in the locker room, and we'll come out and make this a football game. And that's exactly what he's done all season long.
It's exactly what happened. It
Yeah.
not only speaks to him, but it also speaks to their coaching staff as well.
Yeah, he's got a great coaching staff, and both coaching staffs are great, and all those coaches down there are, you know, great football coaches.
They've all earned their way there.
Yeah,
That's
it's
for
not,
sure.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, because I don't, you know, sometimes we don't give credit to the Indiana Football Coaches Association Board and all the things they do behind the scenes that
Right.
really don't make the paper about a kid scoring. You know, people would rather listen to and talk about kids scoring touchdowns or gaining 300 yards in a football game or something like that. But you guys do great work behind the scenes, and I know you're a big part of that. I know you had a board meeting Saturday. Anything big come out of that meeting?
Yeah, you know, I think there's 4 things coming down the road that football fans in the state of Indiana need to know about. You know, the big hot button item that we brought up, and that we're surveying our coaches association on right now, is seeding the tournament. Really, in the state of Indiana, we have, in essence, 2 different tournaments. We have 1A through 4A that both have 64 teams, which have different dynamics in it. And then you have 5A and 6A. You have 17 teams in the north and south in 5A, 16 and 6A in the north and south. And so we're putting that out there to our membership, because just like everybody everywhere else, we want the input. We want to know what's going on with our coaches and where they're at. And so seeding the tournament is, you know, we sent out a survey right before Thanksgiving. At the time, we had 102 of the 210 coaches that have replied were in favor of it. And so, you know, or excuse me, 102 of the 185. So, you know, obviously our coaches are intrigued about having, you know, furthering that conversation. And so we're going to work on putting that together here in the month of December to pass along to the athletic directors board, which will then go to the IHSAA board. You know, we talked about the Big Ten playing games on Friday nights and the impact that's going to have on high school football in the state of Indiana. And, you know, I want to give a lot of credit to the people in Lafayette, especially at Harrison High School, Terry Peebles. You know, they've talked about moving, you know, one of the nights that Purdue is scheduled to host, Harrison is scheduled to play Lafayette Jeff. And you think about the economic impact that would have on that game. That's a huge gate. And that gate doesn't just impact football. That's what a lot of people, you know, I think are starting to figure out with this conversation, is a sellout at Harrison and Lafayette Jeff is going to support a lot of other things that go on in that athletic department. And they talked about moving Harrison and Lafayette Jeff to Thursday night. just to try and maximize the crowd and to be able to draw more of a gate than what they would on Friday with the Purdue home game. So, there's a lot of things coming down the road. The thing that was encouraging for us with the Big Ten football on Friday night is that neither head coach was overly supportive of that move, which, tells you it's driven by the athletic departments, it's driven by the university presidents, and as you know, Perry, and we've talked about this a lot, it all comes down to money.
Absolutely.
And so those universities are trying to maximize that dollar and having a Friday night home game, and so it does have an impact on us, and it's encouraging to know that the coaching staffs at IU and Purdue are still supportive of what we're trying to do from a high school standpoint. That was important to us. One of the other things, there's two other things coming. The Indiana Football Coaches Association is selecting their all-state teams this week. That's going to happen on Friday. What happens is we get 60 coaches, 10 coaches in each class. We get them together in a room. We'll select the top 50 players in the state of Indiana, regardless of class, which is it's pretty cool to be a part of that conversation. When you start seeing all the names pop up there, and then you have representation from all over the state and from all classes. And that being on that top 50 list is certainly pretty special. Then we'll select the individual class teams, and then we'll select the junior all-state teams as well. Out of that top 50 list, we'll generate our Mr. Football nominations, and so it's pretty big day. That one day on Friday obviously drives a lot of postseason accolades for kids, and that's certainly what we're all about. And then the last thing is the reclassification is going to take place in the spring, and that could change the dynamics of football in Hamilton County for sure. You're looking at 5 6A schools in Hamilton County with Westfield moving up to 6A, and so the dynamics that will shake out with the tournament will certainly have an impact on the southern part of the state and the northern part. Looks like Sheridan and Hamilton Heights are going to stay in the same classification that they're in now in 1A and 3A. And then obviously Guerin Catholic will be in 3A as well, but that 6A dynamic changes with Westfield moving up.
It'll be interesting in how it shakes out come sectional time too, right?
It will. There's a couple of different scenarios. When you look at it, when you look at the history of what the IHSAA has done, they're going to try and keep Fishers and Hamilton Southeastern paired together. Hamilton Southeastern's gone south in the tournament before. Carmel has gone south in the tournament before, and so there will be a lot of what ifs, and a lot of people ask questions along the way here over the next several months with reclassification. The big thing that the big message for us is we're just going to go. We're going to go play whoever we have to go play, and I think it speaks to our conference, and it's similar to what the MIC has to deal with as well.
Absolutely, and with the picking of the All-State team and those 50 players there's also a football game, correct? An All-Star football game. Does that come from the same group of kids? And
the All-Star football game's a little bit different. What happens with the All-Star football game is there's 10 regions in the state of Indiana. Those regions will pick an all-region team made up of seniors who are on pace to graduate in good academic standing. From those, there's 5 regions in the north and 5 in the south. From those 5 region teams in the north, they will then select one all-star team, okay. And there's 46 members on that all-star team. The game is played in the middle of July at North Central High School. Looks like the all-stars are going to report back to the University of Indianapolis. It's a great week. What that week encompasses is an opportunity for not only for the kids to spend time together, but in years past we've taken them to the Indiana Football Hall of Fame in Richmond, give them an opportunity to see the history of football in the state in a pretty cool place. The highlight for me of the week is the Wednesday trip to Camp Riley. We take kids down to Camp Riley to a camp with youth that may not certainly have the same setup as some of our all-stars do, but that is a humbling trip for kids, and the impact that camp has on our kids is unreal, throughout the course of the week. We have a banquet on Thursday night, and then we transport the all-stars to North Central on Friday and kick it off for one last contest.
Yeah, and it's great. One of the things I don't think a lot of people realize in the state of Indiana, Indy is really, when we had the Super Bowl here, that big bubble that they have out there is a huge thing for them. Correct?
Well, it's a huge tool for the University of Indianapolis. They took the turf out of it once the Super Bowl left, but they have a multi-purpose floor, in there. We used the bubble a couple times last year when weather drove us inside, and so it's certainly a tool that allows us to get our all-stars the necessary practice throughout the week. But the campus and the facilities and what Coach Bart allows us to do has been great. They've been a great supporter of ours in that all-star game.
Yeah, so it's really important that all of our universities in the state help out and for high school football, because I can tell you that I feel like high school football, I know this is Indiana basketball state, but high school football is making a
We did put
they're
40.
moving, yeah.
We put
yeah, we're moving.
47,000 people in the state finals at Lucas Oil, so I'll argue the basketball state thing with anybody.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Coach, we could probably talk for hours and hours, but I appreciate you this season taking time out, and hopefully maybe during the winter months there's some big things that come from IHSAA that you would like to talk about, because we want to keep the people informed of what's going on
No question.
in high school football. And it's been a great one. It's been a great season, and now we can all start. We all want to be at Lucas Oil come Thanksgiving weekend, right?
Yep, no doubt.
That's where it should be.
No doubt.
All right, thanks a lot, Coach. I appreciate it.
Barry, I appreciate all you guys did this year for us. Thank you.
Thank you.